Life will always be filled with surprises, even if you don't have a birthday. So don't be surprised if what you have planned often doesn't go according to expectation, because it could be that is the best for your path in life. Sometimes we have plan B going ahead, but in reality, it turns out it's actually slowing down. So, if that's the case, what can you do? Just remember that everything you think is good is not necessarily good the best for you, so keep up the enthusiasm. For those of you who are struggling, enjoy watching and have a good rest. During World War II, there was a man named Indiana Jones, or usually called Dr. Jones. He is trying to reclaim the artifacts stolen by the Nazis with the help of his friend Basil Shaw, but it turns out that all the artifacts found are fake except for an artifact called Antikythera, which is lightning fast. Jones also managed to snatch the Antikythera from the hands of a rice researcher named Jürgen Vola, and a fist fight broke out among them. Years later, Jones, who had entered his old age, began to feel lonely since his son died and his wife went somewhere. The days that John lived are no longer the same now. Are they always alone? There is no longer anyone nagging him when he awakes up late. There is no longer anyone preparing breakfast, and there is no longer anyone reminding him about important days like today, where today is the last day. John taught as a lecturer in archaeology before finally retiring. In fact, Jones is confused about what he should do after he retired. If he has to go through the days without his wife by his side. And shortly after class started as usual, John's students didn't seem to care at all about John's long explanation. Instead of listening, they sleep, chat, and daydream. He doesn't want to continue to be ignored. Jones immediately gave a surprise test so that the student would at least listen to it once. Initial, Jones thought that the test would be ignored, but to his surprise, there was a woman named Helena who seemed very enthusiastic about answering the questions that Jones asked one by one. Of course, this made John feel enthusiastic, but unfortunately, his enthusiasm suddenly dropped when he found out that his class was not working. It's just over. After finishing teaching, John received a surprise farewell from his other colleagues, who were there presented with a plaque for his dedication to teaching so far. But instead of saving it for plaque, John gave it to the homeless person, and he quickly went to the coffee shop. When he was relaxing drinking coffee, Hela suddenly appearing and sat next to Jones. At the moment, John realized that Helena was not his student, but someone who had deliberately sneaked into his class early and didn't dodge the slightest bit. Helena finally comes clean about who she really is. Apparently, Helena is John's godson, aka the child of his late friend Basil Shaw. Hearing that, Johnson was not surprised. He didn't expect that Helena, who was still small, had now grown up without much ado. Helena said that she also studied archaeology and enjoyed hunting for antiques and treasures. Then Helena started talking about the anti-pipe piece that John and his father had found at that time. Where this antique, Antikythera, is an artifact that is said to allow them to travel through time in the past or future. If they succeed in combining three antique pieces of Antikythera, which are currently separate in various differently places, knowing that one piece of anti-corrosion was in John's hand, Elena also asked John to show her where she was now. Even though John initially felt very reluctant, in the end he melted and was willing to show it. On the other hand, it can be seen that Jugendvola is still alive. Currently, Folder has been working for NASA with a new identity and is assisted by the I Group lead by Nissan because of his ambition. Back to the past, Voller apparently is still targeting Antikythera. Voller wants to improve and change the flow of history of the Folder world. I wanted the Nazis to win the World War at the time. Then Voller sent his henchmen and masons to snatch the Antikythera from John's hand. Meanwhile, Jones invited Helena to go to the warehouse storing historical items on campus. At the place where he teaches, he deliberately keeps the artifact there because he knows very well that these artifacts have become the target of many people out there. At the same time, Voller and Manson henchmen sneak into John's campus. They first search John's workroom, and when a lecturer caught Voller's henchmen, they immediately run away. After that, they rush to the message warehouse repeatedly warning them so it wouldn't happen again. As soon as they saw the arrival of Voller henchmen, Helena quickly ran away, taking the other anti-us with her. Come on, luckily Helena managed to escape, and so did Jones. However, when Jones was about to call the police, Power Test suddenly come and kidnapped John very quickly. They quickly but put him in a boxcar and immediately drove away from campus. On the way, the boxcar accidentally hit the taxi behind, until finally Jones was forced to get down and walk in the middle of the crowd, who were demonstrating at the very second. Jones immediately took advantage of the opportunity to run as soon as possible, so when he accidentally saw the police, John immediately asked for help, but because the police were slow, our henchmen quickly came after Jones again. Mason then informed the folder that John had managed to escape, and based on his estimates, John would follow Helena, who was currently heading to Tangier. Without thinking, Fowler immediately asked for a private plane to be prepared to immediately to Tangier. Meanwhile, Johnny, who managed to escape, was suddenly shocked when he discovered that he was now a fugitive because he was thought to be the mastermind behind the murder of his co-worker. Not long after that, his friend, who we call Pius, came to pick him up. John then told Pius about all the events that had just happened to him. Then Soleh told Jones that all this time Helena had been living in Tangier and living as a master thief. He was absolutely sure that Helena had deliberately taken away the Antikythera so that he could auction it off as antique collector, considering that Helena wants to get out of debt immediately. After telling about Helena, Soleh immediately took John to the airport. On his way to Tangier, John suddenly remembered the accident when Basil was going to destroy the Antikythera. While he was scared, Basil warned John, if so, artifacts are very dangerous if they are in the hands of people who has the ambitions to change the past, because after all the past can never be changed. Jones, who was listening to this, could only calm himself down. Moreover, for him, the issue of anticlimates being able to travel through time was just a myth, and so that the result of the fight, John promised that he will destroy the body of the facts. However, until now, John had never kept his promise, and now he feels regretfully. Not long after that, John arrived in Tangier, and he was in a hurry to go to Helena's auction. However, when he was about to enter, John was immediately intercepted by a boy named Teddy, and with 1,000 different ways, John quickly tricked the boy until finally he managed to enter and stop the auction. At the same time, Ford appeared with his henchmen, seeing that John was of course in shock. He didn't think that the follower was still alive. After that, there was a long debate until it finally turned into a fist fight. I'm on the way, the new vision standard. In the midst of the chaos, Voller managed to take Antivisible and seeing that John and Helena together chase him, but unfortunately, when I want to chase follower, a guy who claimed to be a reinforcement, Helena suddenly appearing and ruins everything. The Javanese name is Rahim because Helena felt it had insulted her. Later, Rahim swore that he will not let anyone have Helena. Yes, even though they finally managed to escape the uterus pursuit, they failed to catch up with the followers because the Bajaj's tire was flat. Meanwhile, Voller and his henchman are seen already in the helicopter and ordered, then asked followers to immediately return to carrying out their duties as NASA. But because the follower didn't like being controlled and he wanted to find two pieces of Antikythera, Voller immediately ordered his men to finish off the message. On the other hand, Jonas was still trying to fix his Bajaj. Meanwhile, Helena even thought about continuing to look for other pieces of Antikythera. He was sure that Voller would do the same thing with his thought. For this reason, Helena continues to pursue John to continue these adventures. Moreover, Helena dares to guarantee that she and John are both not sincere if Antikythera is discovered by someone like Follower. After hearing Helena's explanation just now, John also agreed, so that they wouldn't be less fast than the Vollers. John invited Helena and Teddy to go by sea using his friend's ship. Reynald arriving at the port without taking long, they immediately sailed on the sea, and at that time Helena told John that in the sea of there was an inscription that could give them clues as to where the other parts of Antikythera were located. Helena also found out from their father's notes. The next morning after being in the edge ocean, Helena, John and Ronaldo got ready to dive to the bottom of the sea. Before that, Ronaldo warned that in the ocean there are animals that look like eels, and if they are bitten by the life, they can immediately float away. Ronaldo said that they immediately dived, and their diving time was only 3 minutes. And how shocked they were they returned to the ship if they turned out that there were already followers, henchmen who had taken control of the ship. After they managed to see the inscription, Voller asked John to read the meaning of the writing on the inscription. However, because John insists on refusing to do so, Voller immediately shot Ronaldo, "I don't want any more bloodshed." Helena immediately volunteered to interpret it. While explaining the meaning of the writing, Helena gave John the code to light the firecrackers that he secretly kept in his trousers pocket. Then Helena, John, and Teddy quickly ran away on Voller boat. On the way to Leah's side, John saw something amazing. If the inscription is burned, it will melt and reveal its original form in the form of gold metal. Next, they rushed to the last location, which was located on the Leah side, or more precisely, at Archimedes' grave, where the grave was located in a grave. Unfortunately, when they arrived at Leah's side, they had to wait until the place closed. This is because the place has become a tourist destination for tourists. While waiting for John and Helena to buy the things they needed, Teddy went for a walk to get fresh air until he was kidnapped. John's follower, who found out immediately, chased him, but unfortunately they have quickly disappeared because John knows that Teddy won't do anything with the folder. Wanting to be used as a guide to the final location, John decided to invite Helena to hurry up and go to the cave before Vola, and a moment later. After arriving at the cave, John and Helena started looking for a way to Archimedes' grave. When they saw a gap up there without thinking, they immediately climbed up even though John's waist feel like was going to break because he was on old machine, but in the end he managed to get to the top of the same time as Helena. Long short, they arrived at Archimedes' grave, and sure enough, in the grave, they saw a piece of the third Antikythera body apart from that. They also found a clock where at Archimedes' time there were still no clocks. Helena then suspected that Archimedes had time traveled with Antikythera not long ago. Then Voller and his henchman appeared quickly. He took the Antikythera piece and put it together with the other pieces. After that, the followers turned the Antikythera clock, and at the same time, Teddy, who managed to escape, appeared and immediately messed everything up. It was in the middle of the chaos that John was shot. He then told Helena and Teddy to leave without paying attention. After that, John was taken away by Voller and his henchmen, who were apparently followed by Helena and Teddy from behind. On the way to the flight location, Voller said that soon they would return to the World War II. He would soon change history. Sometime later, they arrived at the flight location from distance. Helena made a plan and first asked Teddy to immediately fly one of the planes there. Meanwhile, he will chase the follower plane, which he started to take off toward the past. But instead of returning to the World War II, they instead returning to the Roman War. It turned out that Voller had turned the hand around to an inaccurate time while panicking to death. Voller asked the pilot to immediately turn around. Meanwhile, Helena, who managed to get into the solar plane, immediately took advantage of the opportunity to save John. But like a weapon, Master Helena was pulled by one of Voller's henchmen, who almost fell from the plane. Johnny, who saw it, immediately saved Helena. On the other side, you can see the folder being shot and the plane starting to roll. Not long after that, Archimedes appeared. He then the clock and also the anti-clock that was around the fallen body. After that, Archimedes met John and Helena, who had just landed from skydiving, then handed over the anti-clock, and the clock went off for both of them. At the same time, Teddy called them to get up on the plane immediately, but then John was the one who had given up hope, asked Helena to let him stay there. Of course, Helena rejected him outright because she was fed with all John poison. Helena immediately punched him. The next day, John was really shocked when he found himself in his room. Apparently, Helena has brought him back to the present, but instead of feeling happy, John looked sad. Besides, why is he in the present when he doesn't have anyone else in this world? Hearing that, Helena immediately gave John a surprise by bringing John's beloved wife. And at the moment, John was very grateful because God would grant his wish to stay during Roman War II. He will never be able to meet his wife again, whom he has longed for.